These are 5 things they don't tell you about when becoming an entrepreneur. Number 1, you'll feel more alone than ever, even if you're winning. Friends don't get it. Family doesn't get it. I went through this when I first started, and it's hard. Your family doesn't understand that you can actually make money online. They don't understand social media a lot of the time. So it is hard to kind of, break that belief. For me, how I got over it is I just didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my mom or my dad when I first started how I was making money online, what I was actually doing, because I knew they probably wouldn't get it. And I also knew that I kind of wanted to do it by myself, right? I wanted to do it on my own. My dad was very successful, but I didn't want his help. I didn't want him to help me, even though he probably would have, helped me a whole bunch. And maybe it was an ego thing, but I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to be the one to build it. And so that if anything goes wrong, I don't have anyone to blame but myself. Touching on, why you feel so alone, even when you're winning, you're making a lot of money, you're traveling the world, but it's lonely. Like, it's a lonely pathway. You're always working. You spend your time on holidays, locked in the bedroom, working, hopping on calls with your team. And you actually feel like you have less freedom at times because you have to take calls, you have to make content, you have to do the things necessary to keep your business running. Most people your age, especially if you're young, are chasing parties, they're chasing, traveling, they're having fun, they're having their freedom while you're, building for your future. You're locked in the bedroom, but you're building for something bigger. And, you have to make the sacrifice for 1 to 2 years. That's what I did, at least, where I sacrificed 2 years of going out and partying and hanging out with my friends just so that I could get to the position I'm in now and to be in a position where I can make money online. And now I can experience things that I probably never would have experienced if I had to go on the traditional route. And I also experienced things that people back home, would never get to experience. I get to meet people that I used to idolize. I get to hang out with them and surround myself by, some of the biggest people in this world simply because I decided to sacrifice for, 1 to 2 years. During that 1 to 2 year period, Alex Hormozi says it's the lonely period. It's when you don't align with your current friends because you're taking yourself down a new pathway, you're trying to do something different, but you also haven't got to the point where you align with new people that are successful and are doing cool things. So you're kind of in this weird spot, which we call the lonely period, where you literally have no one but yourself. It's very lonely for a year or so, but it's definitely worth it for me, because now I'm at the point where I can be with people that support me. I can be with people that align with my interests and surround myself with, the best people in the game. So to kind of cap off that point, although you're winning, although you're making money, it's still lonely. It's never complete fulfilling, but it's something that you're constantly building towards. And for me, I wouldn't want it any other way. Number 2, you start questioning everything, even yourself. Usually in the first year, when you're becoming an entrepreneur, imposter syndrome starts to kick in. I'm sure, a lot of you guys watching this have experienced this before, but it's where you don't feel like you deserve what you've done. You don't feel like you're good enough to maybe provide a service, or you don't feel like your product is worth the money that you're charging. And it's this real big disconnect where you feel like an imposter. You ask yourself every single day, am I actually worth the money? Am I actually worth the value? Am I really good at this? You tend to compare yourself to people that are 100 times better than you. And you look at them and you go, why am I not doing that? When in reality, you're probably already, 10 steps ahead of just the average person. Your perception on the timeline of success gets distorted because you're looking at these people that are, super successful, and you're wondering why you're not there yet. But when you actually, zoom out and look at how far you've come, you'll come to realize that you have come a long way and you're already 10 steps ahead of the person that hasn't even started yet. So although you question yourself and you wonder if you're really going anywhere, you wonder if you're really making, traction, you look back and realize how far you've come, and you can actually understand that I am doing a lot better than most people, and I am doing something good, and my life is changing. I just haven't realized it yet because I've been doing it for so long, or I've been stuck in the grind. Every day feels like your business is about to collapse. It's the immense stress and pressure entrepreneurs go through where every single day you wonder, is everything just going to fall apart? Am I going to lose team members? Are people going to quit? Is my content going to stop working? Is my personal brand going to get suspended? Every single day you're constantly questioning, is this actually going to work, or is it going to fail? And I feel like it's something that you have to embrace. I myself am constantly under pressure, but I tell myself every single day that this is the life I chose and I wanted to be under this pressure. I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and this is the things that come with it, which is there is no day off. You work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You're always on. You have to be on, especially if you have a team. This is the life you chose, and this is what you have to put up with. Number 3, burnout is real, but it also comes down to how passionate you are about this. I was super passionate about the grind. I was super passionate about building businesses and about being successful and about doing the hard things. So when it came to burnout, that was my passion. That's what I loved doing. I loved being in those times where everything was extra hard and it felt like I just couldn't be bothered to do anything. You know, when that motivation depleted and I didn't want to do anything anymore, I always had that passion there. I always had that, why. I always had that reason to keep going, that reason to keep working. So, burnout is definitely real. That's why I always advise the people I work with to choose something that they are genuinely passionate about, because when the motivation goes, you need to fall back onto something. Otherwise, you will burn out. Every day you wake up exhausted, even though you're literally working on your dream. There is no days off. You're just constantly working. You don't understand the perception of time anymore. I don't have Mondays or Tuesdays or Sunday resets. Every day is just another day, and you just constantly work towards your dream. The lines between your work and your actual life become a blur. Everything starts to drip into one another, and you end up working, sometimes all day and forgetting to even eat. I know there was a period when I was traveling through China where we would wake up at 7 a.m. and we wouldn't get back home till 11 p.m. and we didn't eat all day until 11. And it's just because there literally wasn't enough time. We had to put in a time block in our calendar if we actually wanted to eat. But that's, again, another thing where I say is like, this is the life I chose, and this is what makes it so interesting. Because if the journey wasn't like this, if the journey wasn't fun, I can almost guarantee you wouldn't want to become an entrepreneur. It wouldn't be anywhere near as good. Almost every successful person I know has told me is that the journey is the best part. Reaching the end goal doesn't actually matter too much. It's more about who you become along the way. Number 4, you feel the pressure to make it and to be successful because you've literally burned the boats. For me, when I was working in construction, I had literally quit my job and told my mum and dad that I was going all in. I had $25,000 saved up, and I literally spent all of it on, courses, communities, equipment, everything I needed to get me to where I wanted to go. But I also had that thing in the back of my mind wondering, is this actually going to work? Every single day, is this going to get me to where I want to go? I knew that, I had nothing to lose. The worst outcome that would happen if it didn't work, I'd just end up in the same spot. So I literally had nothing to lose and invested that money, and it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. You've probably told people that you've quit your job to pursue this and that you're going to make it. But once you quit your job, you actually have to do it, right? And so it's like you've told people that you're going to do it. You've burned the boats. So now this pressure comes on to be like, okay, well, I've actually got to make this work now because I've quit my job. I've gone all in. Now I have to actually bring my dream to reality. And that's when, the pressure starts to build. That's when all the stress starts to come onto your shoulders. Every month you're calculating the numbers. You're wondering, is this lifestyle sustainable? Have I made the right decision? But I just kept going back to, I don't want to be like everyone else. And if you want to be like everyone else, you do what everyone else does, right? So, just by doing something different, that sets you apart from everyone else and puts you on a new path to becoming something great. And number 5, you build a version of yourself that is unstoppable. Throughout this journey, you've learned resilience, grit, you've built up all these skills, you've invested in yourself, you've become a completely new person along the way. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think that when I become an entrepreneur, I'm just going to make a lot of money and travel the world. But you actually become a whole new person. You get put on a whole new path. Everything changes and you become the person that you were supposed to be. Entrepreneurship isn't about, the end goal of being successful. It's more about who you become along the way and the hardships you go through. So, a lot of people don't actually tell you that you become a whole new person along the way. You become someone that's valuable. You become a high value man. You stop needing motivation. You stop needing momentum because you've built everything from scratch. If I lost everything tomorrow, I know exactly what I need to do to go and make $10,000 a month again. You've built such an unbreakable foundation that if you lost everything today, you could go and start again tomorrow. And you start to realize that no job in the world, no university, no degree, nothing can kind of give you that feeling, give you that confidence of being so sure of yourself to be successful. And I think that's the main part that they don't show on Instagram. Everyone shows the cars, the boats, the watches, but no one actually shows who they've become along the way and, the type of person that they've developed throughout their journey. All right, boys, I'm going to wrap it up here, but these are 5 real things that people don't actually tell you when becoming an entrepreneur. All they show is the money and the lifestyle, but they don't actually tell you these important things about who you become along the way. So thank you for sticking to the end. If you like this video, drop a comment below and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be dropping a couple of these every week moving forward now, boys. So I'll chat to you soon and we'll see you in the next one.